Chanel, do you believe in luck?
I like the quote that says, the harder I work, the luckier I get. So maybe that answers the question.
So
Luck is not something you just fall in or step on. It's like talent in my mind. So, some people have more of it and some people have less of it, but it's what you do with it that makes the difference, I think.
Do you know people who seem to be lucky more than others? Do you know people who are unlucky?
I know people so let me tell you about a friend of mine who, when we go anywhere with him, he finds the parking right in front of the door. I don't know how, I don't know why. So in that sense, yes, he is more lucky than I am, because I always have to park far. Not that I mind, because then people don't scratch my car. But I do think that it has less to do with luck. I think it has to do with how you show up, how open you are to your environment and to the people around you. And I think that makes the difference in how much of the luck you actually, want to say, get to use.
So I read something the other day that said that people who consider themselves lucky are actually more lucky because they see more opportunities. They go into the world with a disposition of something good is likely to happen, or something unlikely, which is going to be beneficial, is likely to happen. So I need to spot it and then use it.
Yes.
And that's an interesting way of thinking about it, because maybe then there's opportunities that have been missed because we don't expect them, or we don't open ourselves to them, or we don't go for them when they do appear. What do you think about that? It sounds a bit airy-fairy, but it also sounds like it might be true.
So I think when you speak about it, the idea of being more open to opportunity and being more open to have good things happen to you, I think there's definitely something behind that, not just in terms of personality. I mean, some people do have a personality traits that tend or lean them more towards being more cautious, more wary, more suspicious, where other people are more open to experience and more open to, risk, instead of being risk averse, more, available to take risks or willing to take risks. So I think definitely in terms of personality, you can see how different people approach the world and the environments in which they are or exist, and that does make a difference. But I also think there's a lot to do with being present. So this sounds a little bit like I'm diverting, but I think it ties into this, because being open to experience actually just means that you're there and you're open to seeing what's around you. So you're not busy with the next thing or the last thing. You're actually just in the moment. And I think that is something that I think I work really hard at trying to cultivate in my own life, and I work really hard with my clients to try and have them realize how important it is to be present in the moment. I recently read a quote that said, make your minutes fuller, and I thought that was quite a profound way of stating it. So the idea of actually being in the minute rather than worrying about the next hour, just make that minute as full as you can and take everything you can from it. And I think that's the disposition that allows you to see those opportunities and to be that lucky person. But I also think it makes you show up differently. You show up, you potentially can be more fun to live with as well. So I just think of someone who's a complete deliberator, someone who overthinks everything, who always needs to have the plan and the control over the next thing and the next minute and the next 10 hours. We tend to suck the fun out of things because we're so want to be in control all the time, and we want to be so focused on what's coming and making sure no one gets hurt, and you end up actually not being very fun to be around.
And you end up not having fun yourself.
exactly that.
And the goal is not necessarily fun, but it is, just being somebody that other people want to be around. It's an important thing. So what you're saying about not trying to be in control, I was talking to a friend last night and he's asking business questions. And we're actually just thinking out loud together. And he has a very specific picture in mind of this is the way that my future is going to go. 6 months ago, it was very narrow. Now, at least he has two narrow ways of thinking about it. Maybe it's a little bit broader. And the only thing I could come up with was, but pay attention to the opportunities that are there. And also pay attention to the things that you are already good at, other people find valuable. Because it doesn't have to be that that has to be the thing that I need to do in order to secure my future. Maybe there are other things that show themselves and you're like, but I can do that. And then you do that, and that thing leads to another thing and to another thing. It doesn't have to be the specific road that you think has to go the way that you thought it needs to be. And I told him about, we actually forgot about it when we spoke on Friday. Our business is 5 years old on Friday. I don't know if you remember, but I remembered, but I forgot to tell you or to say something. But in retrospect, we are not doing exactly what we thought we were going to be doing 5 years ago when we started. And maybe there were times when we were a bit stuck in this is what we're going to do, but we're not doing vastly different than we thought, but it is a bit broader than we thought, and it's still growing, and it's still things are being added to it. And I think that makes us more adaptable, but then maybe also more valuable because you don't just have to stick to a narrow lane of, if I'm going to be lucky, these very specific things need to happen. So that openness definitely opens you up to almost going on adventures, side adventures, like the building to games that are not the main quest, but you get to go on side quests that are also interesting and they might lead in cool directions.
I think tying into that, I recently was speaking to someone who a while ago was trying to figure out what her next step is going to be in terms of she had a business and the business folded due to COVID. And then she decided she was just going to be at home with her kids because that is where she had to be. But she kept having this longing for something new and something that she's passionate about. And she's always been very passionate about baking and cooking and all of these things. And she kind of ventured into just starting to do that for her family as the starting point. So really, she used to do it with her previous business. She used to manage a team, but in this context, she started actually practicing her skills and honing in on her skills. A few months ago, she said, "I want to start baking these sourdough breads because I think I've got a really good thing going, but I don't know whether it's right for me." And I said, just do it. What's the worst thing that can happen? And she started, and she is now fully booked all the time with these breads that she's baking, and they are delicious and fantastic. But I don't think someone from the outside who didn't hear that conversation and didn't have the prelude to her getting to where she is, which seems to be in a very short time span, because it was a matter of a few months for her to become lucky and actually have this business. It took a lot of other things for her to get there. And I think that's a really important part of our journey, is noticing when we have these soft nudges in different directions. And again, that means we need to be open to the opportunities and to the conversations, and we need to be approachable and ready. I want to say must be ready to take the next step for these lucky moments to actually appear around us. And I don't think everyone's story is always going to be the same, but I definitely think the way that you approach life makes you more open to these experiences.
You can only be lucky if you take the chance. You will never be lucky if you sit back and wait for it. Maybe you win the lotto. You still have to buy the ticket to win the lotto. That will always be the case.
Yeah.
We also spoke about that opportunities come through people. And that being somebody that is easy to work with, somebody that is trustworthy, somebody that is fun to be around, not in the sense of being a clown, but somebody who just brings energy into a space when you meet them. those are the people that I believe attract more opportunities because they attract people to them. And it might sound like a personality trait, but I don't think it is. I think it's just a way of showing up where you are cheerful and friendly and respectful, and you treat other people as worthy, where people like to reciprocate to people like that. Because if you are just the one who's, not friendly and difficult, and you just force
the
people to not
energy.
you sap the energy. People are not going to stand queue to bring you opportunities of, do you want to work with me? Do you want to get involved with this? Do you want to help with this? So that disposition makes a big difference as well.
No, and I think that's exactly the point I was trying to make, because even though you might have those personality characteristics and traits, and they can very easily become your excuse not to show up and not to even try. When we read work on raising kids, there's a few very renowned authors that speak about raising kids that people want to be around and how you go about doing that. And I think that is such an important element of this. And it's not about raising kids, but it's about, are you doing the things that people want to be around? So it's a conversation I regularly have with my kids, because I believe in the core value of doing unto others you want done unto yourself. So if you want to be a nice person to be around, then make it a nice place for people to be around. But I also believe that there are very core principles around discipline, self-discipline, and also focused attention, and knowing, being willing to have the difficult conversations that actually open doors for you as well. And then I just want to revert back to something you said earlier. So you said people open doors, right? And I 100% agree with you, because in this context of this lady approaching me with her business idea, I felt really trusted in her sharing that information with me and saying, well, I need advice and I want to know where I go next. But I also realized and noticed something very, very important. And I think it is that she shared her advert with me and she said, would you mind posting this in your network? The fact that we had that relationship allowed me to open that door for her. I don't think that now one has to go and post. We're not influencers, right? We're not posting things that we don't believe in and that we don't trust. But because her product is something that I think is really noteworthy in a world of quick answers to everything, this very long process of baking these fantastic sourdough breads is something that is really spectacular. So I want to support her because I believe in her product. The way she approaches people and the people around her is just fantastic. She's always got this positive light and this positive spirit. So it makes it easier to share that on my network and for other people again to do the same thing. So I think that just it's a good example of how people can open doors for her, because it was one ad that opened and changed her world. And most people could say, okay, that's luck. But it's not luck. It was her showing up and taking the chance that actually got her there. And then having a positive and a cheerful disposition just helped.
That is a good, quick chat.
I agree.
Thank you.
Have a good one.